Hey everybody, it's that time of the month again. It's time for me to wrap up the books I read in February 2021. All of these books are very good and worth your time, so I cannot wait to tell you about them. Let's get started. Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you all doing today? As always, I hope that you are healthy, I hope that you are safe, and of course, I hope you are happily reading along. I am here today to wrap up my 2021 February reading. How fast is this year going by, y'all? I cannot even, but that's okay. It is a beautiful day in Northern California today, and it is the first day that I have not been running around with my head cut off like a chicken. Work is just so busy right now. I am working 12 and more hours a day, and I'm not getting much reading done during the week. And yesterday was book club day, and it was just busy. And then today, I finally get to just sit down, relax, and talk to y'all. So, as always, I want all of these books on your TBR. So get out that pen, get out that paper, get out your Goodreads, however you keep track of your TBR. If you are so able, please order a book or two from your local independent bookstore. And if you're a library user, get your library to get you a copy as soon as possible. Now, the first two books I'm going to talk about are actually from the Spilling Tea Book Club that I run with my friend Ryan. We do a video every month where we discuss one of the book that we are reading for that month, and then we hold a monthly Zoom call. It has been fantastic. If you want to join, you are more than welcome. We read books by women writers of the 20th century, and if you check out my Spilling Tea playlist, you can see all of the books that we are reading in 2021. So that being said, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because I do have full conversation videos and reviews with Ryan that are spoiler free that you guys can check out if either of these books tickle your fancy. The first one is The Living is Easy by Dorothy West. This is actually the reprint from Feminist Press, and this cover is absolutely beautiful. I've mentioned this book a few times. This is a story of Cleo. Cleo is a black woman at the beginning of the 1900s. She has moved from the South to Boston with one goal in mind, and that is to continue the raise in rank of her family up into sort of the upper class of the black neighborhood that she lives in. She is one of those characters that is at times so unlikable, you can't even imagine, but she is also driven, she loves her family, and she has a goal in mind. This book is full of amazing characters. It is a great study of what a woman had to do at the time in order to sort of just make it so her daughter, herself, her husband, her sisters, her whole entire family could have what she thought was a better life. So I'm going to leave it at that. Check out Ryan and I's review. I loved this book. It is fantastic, and that is Dorothy West's The Living is Easy. Now, the book that we actually just met for yesterday is Bread Givers by Anzia Yezierska, and I have been practicing that name, and I knew that I was going to destroy it. This is set very similarly at the beginning of the 1900s, in the 1920s, in New York City. We have a Jewish family from Polish Russia that has come to the United States, driven out by the Russians. They're just being, attacked. The Jewish people there are being persecuted and killed. So they come to America. And this is the story of one family. It's a mother, a father, and 4 daughters. Really, the main character is Sarah, and she is very autobiographical to Anzia. And it's about how the decisions that are made in the family regarding marriage, regarding social structure, and Sarah's decision that she is going to become an independent woman and do what she needs to do to be happy in life. I'm going to leave it at that. Please check out Ryan and I's review. I liked this book a lot. It wasn't my favorite book that we've read for the Spilling Tea Book Club, but I recognize not only the importance of the story, Also, that there are not a lot of tales or books from this time period, from this perspective. I did find the writing maybe a little bit simplistic, but overall, I read it in like 5 hours. I was driven through it by the plot. The characters are intriguing, so I really liked it. So that's The Bread Givers by Anzia Yezierska, and that's completely wrong. And this is the Persea Books version of it. I got it at my local used bookstore. So there you go. Okay. Now we're going to get into other books where I'll talk a little bit more. So every once in a while, I really just want to read a fantasy novel. And that's because I like to break up my literary fiction. I want to go to a world, and I want to go to just something that's different. Now, every once in a while, that fantasy novel is completely contemporary, and it's just set in a time period now with fantastical elements. Now, Tor is doing these fantastic reissues that they're calling Tor Essentials, and they're just amazing books that they are reissuing into the world. And the one I'm going to talk about today is The Woodwife by Terri Windling. And thank you very much, Tor, for sending me this, because I had never heard of this book, and I loved it. So this is actually set in sort of North Tucson, Arizona. We have a main character who inherits a plot of land with a bunch of houses on it from a poet that she knows solely from written correspondence. Turns out the poet lived there with his wife, a Mexican woman who was a painter, and she would paint these pictures of these spirits that she sort of communicated with or felt a connection with in this land in northern Tucson. So our main character arrives, and she meets all of the different people that live on the land, and also we sort of get the story of those spirits. We get the history of the poet and his wife and them coming in to this land and sort of what has happened due to the interactions with those spirits. And we have this woman sort of coming to terms with a very different life for her. She's led a very, hectic, busy life. And it's got this sort of a folklore aspect to it. It reminded me a lot of like Charles DeLint. If you guys have read his fantasy fiction, maybe that will help you put a corresponding tie to it. I will say the thing that I loved the most about this book is her nature writing about Tucson, Arizona is fantastic. She paints the most beautiful picture of that neck of the woods that was it was phenomenal. It was worth the read in its entirety. But what is great is sort of we meet these sort of folklore characters. They sort of have their ability to speak. It's through art, it's through painting, it's through poetry. So we get to see sort of how this world, this community comes together through all of these different art forms. And it's a soft book when it comes to plot. It's really just like this woman coming to terms with what happened to her friend. By the way, I didn't even mention her poet friend dies. He is murdered, and that is why she inherits this land. Because, to me, the book has so much going for it. It is fantastic, and I highly, highly recommend it. So that's The Woodwife by Terri Windling. This is out from Tor Essentials. Thank you so much for sending me these. They have actually quite a few of these out. I have a stack of them, going through them slowly but surely, and they're fantastic. So thank you, Tor, very much. Because if they hadn't sent that one to me, I don't know that I would have read it. I had never heard of it. So there you go. The next book is actually not coming out until June 8th, and that's from FSG, and that's Everyone Knows Your Mother is a Witch by Rivka Galchen. And this is the story. It's set in the 1600s in Germany. It's the story of a 70-year-old woman that's accused of being a witch. But really, she's accused originally of giving this woman this like poison potion that she says caused all of this stuff to happen. And our main character demands sort of an apology, and what happens is that sort of spins into this witch hunt against her family, against other people. This is told in sort of like a journal format, but our main character cannot read or write, so she's telling it to her friend, a man who can read and write, and how all of it sort of went down. But every once in a while, like, he'll take over a section and sort of tell you his perspective, and it's very well done. And there's letters and stuff like that. Based on a true story, this is really the story of this woman and her fight to clear her name. and sort of the repercussions that this investigation had, not only on her and her family, but also sort of the community in which they live. It's fascinating. You get these like interviews that are happening, and you can clearly tell that none of this makes sense, but they're looking for the story. So they're going to use whatever piece of what these people say in order to convict this woman. I really enjoyed this book. I do think it drags a little bit in the middle, but the beginning and the end are fantastic. And I really loved Katerina, the main character. So that's Everyone Knows Your Mother is a Witch by Rivka Galchen. This is out on June 8th from FSG. So thank you very much, FSG, for this gifted copy. I was really excited. I just picked that one up and I just read it in like 2 days because it was really very, very good. Okay. The next one I'm going to tell you about is a short story collection that I've actually talked about a couple of times here. And that is Kink. And this is edited by Kwon and Garth Greenwell. And this has stories by Roxane Gay, Alexander Chi, Brandon Taylor, Carmen Maria Machado's in it, and a bunch of authors that I actually did not know until I picked up. And Kwon, who I love, and Garth Greenwell, who I love. So there was a lot going on in why I picked this one up to read it. So I want to say thank you, Simon and Schuster. They sent me this early copy, but this book is out now. You can get your hands on it as we speak. And congratulations, I think it just went into its 3rd printing. So that's really awesome. Now, Kink is a bunch of short stories that celebrate, investigate, and deal with different sexual kinks and how they sort of make people who they are, and how do I want to say this? And they sort of investigate, the stories investigate the relationships that come out of these sort of sexual kinks, and the relationships not only between maybe partners, but other people, the people that they engage in their kink with. And it does such a great job of not only speaking about and teaching about how people feel in these situations and why there's validity to what these people desire. But it also sort of, normalizes the discussion regarding sexual kinks, which I think is really important. I think that there's a lot of people out there that feel embarrassed or feel that they can't speak about it. And this book does an amazing job of just giving a voice. Now, there's a lot of stories in here that may not apply to you, but you'll learn about different people. But I mean, it's a short story collection about sexual kinks. So I will put that out there. If that is not your bag of tea, don't pick this book up. But I learned a lot. I was really, really blown away by the level of quality of these short stories. They are fantastic, and they're sophisticated, and they just really elevate a discussion that people probably should be more comfortable having than they are. And yeah, I really loved it. So that's Kink, and it's collected short stories by Kwon and Garth Greenwell. And this is out now from Simon and Schuster, so you can get your hands on it if that is up your alley. Okay, the last 2 books I'm going to talk about may be 2 of my favorite reads of the year at the end of the year, because I loved both of these. I actually just picked up my finished copy of The Removed by Brandon Hobson. You guys know I have raved about Brandon Hobson. His book, Where the Dead Sit Talking, shortlisted for the National Book Award a couple years ago. I thought it was freaking brilliant. I think The Removed is better. I really do. This is the story of the Echota family. So it sort of starts by letting us know that the Echota family are a mother, father, and 3 children. A daughter, an oldest daughter, and 2 sons. The middle son is killed in an act of police violence at a mall where he's just shot down for absolutely no reason. The book starts with sort of giving us that information, and then we're 15 years in the future, and the effect that has had on this family in its entirety. The mother still deals with that sense of loss, and she is also dealing with a loss in the sense that her husband is suffering from dementia and Alzheimer's, sort of losing his memory and his place. We have the oldest daughter she's moved out, but she's never really found a way to solidify a relationship outside of her family. She's always been very secluded, even as a teenager. And she winds up getting into a relationship that's very, I'm going to use the word odd. with a man who has a young boy who I believe is autistic, but she really falls in love with sort of the young boy, but the complicated relationship with this man, and that through the story. And then the youngest son is a recovering / drug addict. I say recovering because he's tried, but unfortunately it hasn't worked. His girlfriend has just left him. I think he was in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and he is trying to go somewhere. This book takes place in Oklahoma. A lot of this book takes place in Oklahoma. But also that's intertwined in this is sort of this tale of ancestors. There's like these chapters by this ancestor that is telling the story of the Cherokee people in regards to the Trail of Tears and the movement of their people into Oklahoma. And that voice is talking to someone, I'm not going to tell you who because I do not want to ruin the way that Brandon Hobson masterfully intertwines the ancestors and the story into the overall narrative is surprising and fantastic. So I do not want to ruin that for you. But this is a story, this is a book about loss in so many different ways, but also about hope. The mother and father take in a young boy who is in need of a foster home until they can find a place. And his presence in the household makes the father remember things and sort of makes people feel like maybe he's recovering, but also it just brings into hope a discussion about the family. There's so much in this book and I feel like I'm not doing it justice. All I can say is it's brilliant, it's so well done, and it does everything you would need a tale that's sort of about loss to do. And I think it's fantastic. And I think it's even better than his last book, and I loved his last book. So this is The Removed by Brandon Hobson, and this is out now from Ecco. You can get your hands on it as we speak. That cover is beautiful. Okay, last but not least, and this book may take me forever to discuss because it's so good, but I'm going to try to sum it up, and that's The Arsonists City by Hala, Alyan, and OMG, my y'all, so good. Now, this is a family saga of the best kind. We have a Syrian mother and a Lebanese father who wind up moving to America. They have 3 children who are American, born and raised, and they are going to be returning to Beirut because the grandfather has passed away, leaving the house as the inheritance, and the father has decided he is going to sell it. Now, the mother doesn't want that to happen, so she sort of coerces 2 of her children to fly to Beirut with their families, and one of their daughters actually already lives there. Okay, now, that's sort of the pieces of this. But what this is this is a story of all of those people. So we get different chapters from different perspectives from the children. And then we get flashbacks from the mother's perspective. And I want to make sure I always put the M in wrong for her. I want to say her name is Manza, and I apologize if that, Mazna, M-A-Z-N-A. So I'm apologizing if I'm saying that incorrectly. Now that's the mother character. She's an inspiring actress. And in the flashbacks, we find out how she wound up with the father. There's tragedy involved. There's the war that was going on in Lebanon, Beirut, and Syria, and all that area of the world while she was growing up, and how Beirut was just like a place where it was dangerous to go, but it was also full of life. She meets people. There's all sorts of great characters, and there is a story about how this family winds up where it is in the modern times. What she does so well is she intertwines this mystery and this story along with just the everyday aspects of family history, tradition, love gone wrong, love gone well. It has queer representation. It has all sorts of different angles that it comes at, and she does it so well you never feel like it's too much. The characters are really well done. Sometimes they are very frustrating. I'm not gonna lie. I would make different choices, but in doing so, she makes them so flushed out and beautiful and flawed, and it's just really good. It's really, really good. And really, it's about family love, and it's really about, even though you know that there are secrets in your family or things that may be kept from you, sometimes knowing why or when something happened isn't as important as realizing how important your family is together. I hope that sums up this book. I feel like if you were a fan of Pachenko, I think you would really like this book. If you liked anything that's sort of a family story told in different sections through different times, I think you'll really like it. I just think it was brilliant. I think the writing was brilliant, the characters were brilliant, the story was brilliant. So that's The Arsonists City by Hala Alyan. This actually comes out, I want to say, in 2 weeks. From HMH. So I want to say thank you, HMH, for this beautiful finished copy. I adored this book. 5 stars all the way. So please, please pre-order it, pick it up. You guys, it's so good. I was going to try to pick up this pile of books and send it to you, but it fell over. So all I'm going to say is all of these books are definitely worth your time. I hope I did a reasonable job at trying to sell them to you guys so that they'll wind up on your TBR. As always, if you're a return subscriber, I couldn't do this without you. If you are new to my channel, I hope you like this video and I hope you stick around for more. As always, I encourage you to read globally, shop locally, and until next time, I wish you happy reading. Bye!